Becoming a judge was never really part of my career plan. I did a law degree, I became a solicitor. So for me, the natural career progression would either, be a partner in a firm or work in-house. And as it is, I went down the in-house route. And I worked, before I became a judge, I worked for an employer's organisation specialising in employment law. The decision to become a judge was, I suppose, by chance. I happened to see an advert in the Law Society Gazette for fee-paid judges, and so I was surprised because I'd never seen the role of a judge advertised before. So, as a curiosity, I looked to see what they were after, and when I looked at the criteria, I thought, well, I've got all of that. Why don't I apply? So I did. And this was a few days before the August bank holiday, so I was going to be off work for a few days. So I thought, well, I'd use that opportunity to fill it in then. So I spent the best part of the long weekend filling out the application form. I submitted it, and then to my surprise, I was then invited for an interview. I had the interview. It was hard, but because I spent quite a lot of time filling out the application form, I think that helped. Then a few months down the line, I think I'd forgotten about it, I, to my surprise, was appointed to the role. And I say to my surprise because I wasn't expecting to be appointed, and I suppose I had in my mind that being a judge was a career path for barristers, and at that time not many solicitors were judges. If I hadn't got it, I wouldn't have been that disappointed, but having got it, I was delighted. I suppose one of the main challenges in going through the process was the initial stage of filling out the application form. I'd been sort of in the same job for 13 years at that point, so it'd been a while since I had applied for anything. And this was the first time that I'd actually applied for a role where it was a competency-based process. So I think the hard part for me was trying to get together the examples for the various competencies within the application form. And also I found that a number of the examples applied across a number of the competencies. So there was a danger of repetition and not putting in enough information. So that was the hardest part. And then again in the interview, more examples were asked for. So it was trying to think on your feet and come up with other examples. And then I suppose once I was appointed, there was the initial anxiety about wearing a different hat to the one that I wore as an employment law specialist, because I'd always appeared in the tribunal, I'd always appeared acting for respondents, and so I now had to take off that hat and sit as the judge and stand back and be dispassionate about each side's case. So that took a lot of getting used to, but I think after a few sittings that was fine. But I suppose the other challenge was that, of course, it was fee paid, so I was sitting for 30 days in the tribunal, but also doing my day job. And although, of course, I was taking time out of my day job to do it, there wasn't a corresponding reduction in my work. It was just waiting for me while I was there. So it was trying to balance my day job and the sit-ins, but also I was a new mum around that time, and so I was trying to balance being a new mother as well. So there were a lot of balls that I was juggling, and I suppose that's one of the reasons why a few years down the line I acted as a fee-paid judge for 4 years. And then I applied for the salaried position, and then I went through the same application process. It was a competency-based interview, but this time there was a further stage, because there was a written test at a centre, as well as an assessment day which involved role play, a presentation, and then the formal interview. So a lot harder, but I felt that having been through the first interview, I was a lot more prepared, and I had more examples to give. And of course, as I'd sat as a fee-paid judge, I was able to use examples from my time as a fee-paid judge as well. So the process was a lot better. I think one of the things that persuaded me also to go for the salaried position is because by that stage they were offering flexible working. So I applied to work part-time on an 80% contract, and that's the basis upon which I was appointed, and so that allowed me to have a better work-life balance. The single piece of advice that I'd give to anybody thinking about a judicial career is to get your examples together for the competency, the competencies on the application form, because as I found it difficult trying to think of things, and I think if you prepare them in advance, then it makes it a lot easier. You'll also have to have some up your sleeve for the interview as well. So make a diary note. You might think that it's not relevant, but what you'll find is that there are a lot of things that you do in your day job that are transferable skills that will be relevant to the role of a judge.